Hello, hello again for some of us because it's now the second meeting for the Q&A with the filmmakers of the short films included in this edition of Film O'Clock International Festival. I am saying hello from Bucharest, but I am so glad that the other filmmakers and also Andrew, we all live in different countries, but this is it also our festival. We are meeting together to watch films and also to discuss about them. So your amazing films were screened in 7 countries in 7 venues. We are very glad that we had great partners in Lithuania, Ukraine, Romania, of course, Greece, Bulgaria, Egypt, and South Africa. And of course, if audiences from these countries have questions for you, I already asked our partners to ask me on WhatsApp. So we will wait their questions. But we also have our own questions, and I am saying this in my name and also Andrew. Andrew is my colleague, it's the delegate for Egypt, and together with him and with Jana, we made this selection. We say hello to Jana, who is actually in the venue in Sofia, and thank you so much for being there. But because we have Andrew now, I will let him to open the conversation with you.
So hello again. It's really nice to meet all of you after watching the films, and it was really nice to have these films in this edition, because it's I think it's enriching the competition to have a very unique films and different, and I think this happens in this second program too. So let's start with the questions, and if we can start with in the same order of the films. So the first film was on off. We have here Jurg, if I'm saying it right, or Jurg.
Yes. No, that's fine. Jurg. Yeah.
Jurg.
Jurg is good.
Okay,
Thanks.
good. So it's good, nice to meet you. So my question is about the build-up of the film. It's I believe it's difficult to do some kind of suspense or this type of build-up in a very short film. It's always easier for the feature form, but in the shorts you have a very limited time, so you need to be very specific to work and to reveal your story. So let us know more about the way you worked on the script to do this, and how difficult or easy maybe it was to shoot the film in this way.
So it was my hi everyone. Firstly, thank you very much for this opportunity. So it was the first fiction short film that I ever directed. So it was quite a challenge to do something kind of like this. So the script was written by my husband Christian, who had experience with this woman, a similar experience, but then he decided, let's turn this into a fictional thing. So it's very visual, the script, but then you have only, like you said, like 17 minutes to tell it. And my biggest concern was that it can get too long, and there's so many little things that I needed to hit, like certain marks. But yeah, it was quite a like I storyboarded everything because I wanted to be controlled quite a lot. And then I sat with the cinematographer to Pascal, who is in the audience, who helped me with my shot choices and said, you are doing too many. There's too many things that you want to show. So keep it more simple. And then also it was a collaborative experience to just also sit back and work as a team and see what works best for the film. Because in the end, that's the story that you would like the audience to take away. not to have it too long or too much, but it's always a challenge. I don't know if that really answered the question, but it's, yeah, I storyboarded and then sat with the team, and then we plotted it out.
That's great. Mirona, we're still having, we need time to do the translation too, or?
It will be better, yes, to have some time. We can go to the next film, yeah? Yeah, to the next
Please.
film and the representative, because we have Theatrical Romance here. We have Teodora and also the scriptwriter, yeah? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a question from the audience for you. They congratulate you, and they said that in a way it reminds Wes Anderson, The French Dispatch. And the question is if you had in mind a metaphor for life, or did you want to create something that to say something as a new metaphor for life in this film?
Well, as for The French Dispatch, it's funny because we made Theatrical Romance before The French Dispatch was released, and after we saw it, we were like, oh shit, people are gonna think we did it on purpose. But we actually saw it afterwards. As for the life metaphor, maybe Pavel has something to say about it. Well, I don't think that we meant to say something as high as a metaphor. I think it was more or less trying to convey, experience of romantic dissatisfaction and ever elusive connection between two people who may or may not meet, and that may or may not change their life, and like the general feeling of shittiness in chasing love and desperately trying to find it and failing. And I think it was more about that. I don't think it's like a general metaphor about life. I don't think like life is life encompass only this, but I think it was more or less about feeling shitty about not finding love and loneliness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did you start from a real story, or how did you?
We started from a short story that was written by one of the other screenwriters, the other screenwriter. It was a much simpler story about a man who goes to the theater and falls asleep watching the Cherry Orchid by Chekhov, and and one day on the seat next to him there goes a girl who also falls asleep. And we started, building upon this basis.
So we changed it completely.
But yes, we were using real stories from our own experience for inspiration, and we, of course, decorated them a little bit. But the base.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It was also a bit a problem of a connection, but the message, I think, reached us. I hope. I don't know. I hope all of you. It was a bit, the connection is stable. Then let's go to Greece a bit and to talk about animation in Greece. Because actually, I'm very glad that we included and we had this opportunity to include your beautiful film. Can you please tell us about the inspiration and how did you start to do and to work together with the other filmmaker?
Well, the idea came from like a trivial information. Canaries used to work alongside with miners. They used to take them down in the mines, and when they stopped singing, it was like a signal that something goes wrong. Usually it was some kind of gas leakage. So we used to take them with them and take care of them. They became something like co-workers. So it started by reading about this story. And then we just wanted to explore this bond between them and how two creatures that are quite different from each other and seemingly in a very different positions, the the Canaries are born in captivity, but the workers are there by choice. But they do share this harsh environment. So we want to see how their bond can, awaken them and give them something to change their conditions.
And because we spoke about metaphors, now I was thinking, listening to you, that in a way it is about borders, about limits, about things that, I don't know, we are in a search for freedom, but sometimes we don't know what is this freedom or where to find, or we need, in order to understand the freedom, we have to sometimes to put some limits. It's a bit strange.
It plays with this because the Canary is already in captivity, but the worker is seemingly free, but also not free because he's tied down by all the hardships of the labor. So it plays with this.
And in terms of technique, how did you choose? And you think it's linked very well, in my opinion, of course, with the narrative and with your own, way to tell the story. But maybe you have something more to add.
No, I mean it's traditional animation, is frame by frame, and we choose charcoal because it was the obvious choice. Say, okay, we need to find a way to explore this underground world. So charcoal, it was the obvious choice. It was difficult because we haven't done it before. So it kind of, but we decided, so went through with it. And yeah, and also it's quite important, I think, the sound and the music of the film. We also try to make a soundscape that kind of resembles this underground world.
Thank you so much. I'm looking on the phone because I received some questions. That's why I was. So we have also Mihai, and in the other slot, I asked Andrew to ask the question for the Egyptian director, but now I want to change it. And it will be interesting also to have his view, and I don't know, maybe to ask his own questions to Mihai. It will be interesting to see. And also, I will add afterwards some questions from the cinema, because I received some questions for Mihai.
Okay. Hello.
So hi. I think you are outside. How is the weather?
Yes.
Next to you. This is.
It's not too warm, not too cold. I like it.
Okay. So actually, when I watched the film, there was a question that came to my mind, and it's good to have you. Is about the way you shoot your film. In the first few minutes, I because I didn't read the synopsis, I was thinking that I'm watching a documentary film, and later on, I discovered there is a little bit some fiction by the ending, but totally felt like a documentary. I need to know if you intended to give the film this feeling, to be more realistic, if we can say, and more like a normal day life film, or this came because of the actors and the way you shoot the film later on.
Okay, thank you for your question, and thank you for inviting me to the festival and for the people who came to see our films. Well, it goes down like this. I have a background in documentary filmmaking. I shot and directed a few documentaries beforehand, and I believe in the power of realism in a way to put you besides the character. So I wanted this look when I was writing the script for it. I wanted to have this look. And also, this movie is made in a certain way. We did a lot of improvisation on set, and things really had no other way to be shot, just like in a documentary manner. I didn't know exactly what the main character was going to do. For example, when he built the hut from corn cobs, we stayed there for about an hour and a half just for him to build it, and then edited the small scene. Also with the dog, we were very fortunate about the dog whose name is Rex and who died recently, unfortunately. So the dog, we didn't know what its reactions were going to be, and we just it was so I was really impressed because I was following Aurică, and then I looked at the dog and quickly panned over to the dog, and the dog was like showing this puppy face. So that was actually really real. Half of the movie is like real because the dog is the main character's dog in actual life. Also, the sets where we filmed are also the main character's house and backyard. So the only thing that I did, I pushed the fiction part with the antagonist, the one who, you know, like beats on the dog and stuff like that. But this is inspired also from a true story, because the main character in real life, he was in prison for half of his life. He got out of prison at 35 and said, I'm going to quit doing crime. And he works with us at a dog shelter, and he brings like dogs that have been thrown out by their owners to the shelter. So it was like inspired from him and combined with some fictional parts that I wanted to explore. So it's like a hybrid. I think for me, it's very much grounded in reality, and also my method was true to this, you know, to the subject matter.
One spectator from Romania also asked about this, if it's based on true story or how this started. So
yeah, and also there was a story in Romania in pandemic in 2020. A prisoner got out of prison, and he lived in the middle of a cornfield for about 3 months near the 100 kilometers from the capital, Bucharest, and they didn't. The police didn't want to catch him. They said they're going to catch him in autumn when the corn gets harvested, and then you can see him in your plain eye. But some villagers caught him, actually. So I was inspired by these two stories. I found the first one a bit funny, with the guy just escaping from prison and living for 3 months in the middle of the fields. And also I was inspired by Aurica's life. Aurică is the main character. It's not the dog, it's the guy. The guy with tattoos, the man.
Mm-hmm. And another question for you, Mihai, was regarding the ending. Somehow it was not very, I mean, you let it in a way very open, in the lady's opinion. So maybe to discuss a bit of this type of open endings, and also our contribution as viewers to the work of the filmmakers, and to continue in a way the story in a way that we think and we resonate most. What do you think?
I think it's an invitation, actually, for, I don't know, you stay for 12 minutes with the characters, and this open ending is an invitation to stay with them a bit longer, maybe think about them more. So yeah, for me there is open ending, which is, for me, is not so open, but a lot of people told me it is. So I believe it is an open ending. I believe it's just an invitation to stay more with the characters and think what they would do, and maybe actually what you would do as a spectator, you know, because you always put a little bit of yourself in the characters you watch, and as we do with our characters that we make up. So it's a little bit of each one of us in our characters, and I believe the spectators can also do this. So it's an invitation to stay a bit longer with Aurică and his dog and see, what's going to happen.
Yeah, which I think it's also a bit similar in terms of ending with the Jurg. Is it okay? The name pronunciation also, ending. It's also a bit like invitation to think about what you have just watched, and sometimes these open endings can be seen as let's say not loosey, but in a way, you know, not being sure of what you want to say. What do you think about this kind of approach? I mean, I'm coordinating the cinema for several years, and I do discuss with audiences about the films that they watched. Of course, in a short film, the short films are very, like, in my opinion, are more art house. You know, it's the art in film. When you do a short, in my opinion, you are closer to the work of art. But still, they usually they have issues with this type of open endings, and I would like to ask you, especially in South Africa, maybe to give us a sort of perspective of how these films are received or perceived when they have this invitation, maybe too open invitation.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's an invitation for the audience to kind of not decide, but like interpret it in the way they see it. There are themes there of the isolation of people that are ill, and what we as a society, do we help them or not? Do we just leave them to their own devices? And I don't want to say what I think or what, because I don't think that's necessarily for me to say. But some of my friends, people thought it was it's like a limbo, that these people are stuck in a complete limbo. Other people saw it as what I've just said, this isolation and a metaphor for getting older, or and other people said, is this happening in the man's head? And that's also why we didn't give the characters names, because it's man, it's woman, and it can actually be anyone, regardless, of gender and everything. But yeah, I don't know, and how what audience necessarily would think about it, but it's I mean in South Africa, but I feel like it's maybe a little bit more challenging, because it's not a very clear ending. So if I can just, I think if we could just make the audience wonder a little bit, then that's great. Then they can take something away from it, which they see.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you for your response. But of course, I welcome every opinion. So it could be also different,
sure.
but I totally agree with you. And now discussing with you about this, I see so many similarities. I mean, in deep with these borders, inner borders, facing challenges, or I don't know, with memory, with freedom, with actually in all of your films that you are here, the only one which is a bit more distinct as a style, maybe it's Teodora's film, which is like in a way, but at the same, it makes you at the end to reflect and to have your own interpretation. But how did you work, and how did you work with, for instance, with the casting, with the actors, Teodora, in your film, and why using these off, let's say storyteller, helped you in a way to build, or in a way it was risky because it was a sort of receipt of films made like this? Because in my opinion, it's also very risky. It was great, you did it very well, but still, sometimes it's risky.
Well, first, as for the casting, actually, usually when we are writing the script, we have particular actors in mind. This time it wasn't the case. It was the first time we were doing casting. The first time we didn't actually know who's going to play in the movie. But I was looking for specific faces that could fit in my characters, and actually I was a bit worried if I have found them, but the first day we started shooting, I was sure I did. As for the voiceover, actually the idea behind this movie, because it was our graduation project, was to break all of the rules we learned in film school. And they kept telling us voiceover is the weakness of the writer. You use voiceover when you don't know how to save the story, how to save the plot. And we actually wanted to prove that's not the case. So we wanted the voice to be kind of something like the voice of the fate that brings people together. Destiny
forward. I mean, I don't know if you have something to say about it.
Well, I think that the main idea behind the voiceover was that it shows that somewhere, somehow, there's this entity that has complete control over our lives, even when they seem to us totally out of control and random. There's actually a concrete pattern behind all of the actions that we do and others do upon us, and there's like this all-knowing voice that it's like it's destiny, that knows what's going to happen, and it's sort of ironic towards you. He's like, oh, so you think this is going to happen? No, that's not what's going to happen. And we really wanted to catch the essence of this.
It's funny because it's my voice, it's the director's voice. So yeah, the director is the one that decides what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm the destiny of the film, maybe. That wasn't the plan. I was looking for an actor to read the text, but we didn't have time. And I had to read it, and actually it turned out.
Maybe you broke another rule, yeah? The director is not only there. But what you said now made me think again about the similarities between your films. It's like the characters are in a sort of cage, with this destiny that it's, like canaries, that they have their destiny. And it's very interesting. And I would like to ask Andrew, maybe he has some other questions for our guest, or I will look meantime to my phone.
Actually, I have a question for Canary, also for Chrysoula, because this film is one of the films that have many ideas. When we were discussing the film, everyone has a different perspective about it. So it's clear about some ideas, but I need to know from your perspective as a filmmaker, as you did this, what is the main thing that touched you about the film after you finished it?
I don't know. It's nice to hear that people see many things and know that there are many ideas floating around there. I don't think I can tell you specifically what was it for us, but I think that we really wanted to dig a bit deeper what it means, and when there is, because the two characters, they do form a bond of solidarity, and that changes them, not only them, but the conditions around them. So that, the last scene is a strike, or the beginning of a strike is something else. I don't know. Now that it's finished, even though I think they're animated characters, we kind of feel more affectionate towards them, I guess. So they became characters. Also, in the beginning, we didn't have any features. The workers, we started by doing them faceless somehow. And in the process, our main character took a face on. So, it's something changed for him when he met his friend, his companion. So, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for On-Off, for director of On-Off. What was, in your opinion, of course, the essential message of the film? This is from Romania, from the audience from Romania.
I think the thing, okay, so because it stemmed from also a real life incident of the screenwriter having this experience with a woman who was locked in her house because she had dementia, and then she was looking for help, and then it's kind of like the human kindness of helping each other, trying to the sick, looking after the sick because no one else looks after them, because I just dispose of them in a way. So obviously there's a bit of a fictional twist in our film, but I think the themes of helping each other when you're sick and really trying being kind, I suppose, and then also looking towards yourself, and also realize if you're also sick or ill, that you also need to get some help. You can't just give to everyone else. You also need to take care of yourself, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in order to close the discussion, because we are almost done also with the time for the discussion, I would like to invite you to tell me very short, each of you, in which way you were changed by making this film that you made. Because most of you, I mean, all of you, not most of you, all of you said in the conversation that you either wanted to challenge the rules and to break the rules, or it was something that you read and it was something that you had to say something about that, and that's why you chose to do something artistic and to make a film, or it's a message that is resonating with you. But after you made these films, how do you feel now? Do you feel changed? Do you feel better? Do you feel that you had the voice okay in the film, and it's worthy, and it will be good that you had? Well, I would be very interested to have, of course, in short, your opinion on this. How a film changed you as a filmmakers? How this specific film that you made?
Should I start?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Like I mentioned earlier, that this was my first fiction film, and I also have come from a documentary background. So it was a wonderful experience to be able to sometimes have a little bit more of a control on a story, on how to shape and mold it. But at the same time, I had to let go on the day, also to see what the actors brought to the story, and also the other team members. So for me, what changed is to, like I said, I like control, but ironically, I had to let go again, kind of like in a documentary situation where you see what plays out in front of you. So yeah, I look forward to telling more stories this way with creative teams. So yeah.
Thank you. Let's go to Teodora. We will take also the order from the films.
Well, for me, Theatrical Romance was the scariest and the most beautiful experience I've ever had in my short filmmaker's career, because it was a very ambitious project, and I worked with a huge team. Actually, for my perspective, it was the biggest team I worked with, and all of those people were super great professionals, and I was really stressed, like, what if it doesn't work out? All those people worked so hard on making something in my head come true, and what if it doesn't work out? Because it was curious, the process, because the movie is told by little fragments, and before you reach the end of the editing process, you have no idea if it has happened the way that you intended. So until the very end, I didn't know if we had it or no. But after it worked out the way we dreamed it, now I feel freedom, and I'm really inspired because I saw something that I didn't believe could happen, actually happening. So I'm really grateful to my team that gave me that hope. I don't know if you have something to add. No.
Thank you so much.
My phone's gonna run out soon.
So
Can I be
Mihai,
next?
you can go. Yeah, you can respond.
Sorry, Chrysoula, I'm really sorry for barging in. So yeah, I'll be short because I have less than 10% battery. So for me, like, because of this Rex, the dog that died in the following days, I was just so happy that people from like so many countries to see this, the dog and Aurică, who would never have seen them. And I think for me, it's like a really big privilege to, to be able to keep their memory. I think that's what's nice in movies, that you can, the memory of people who, let's say, have gone or passed on, you still keep that memory alive. So for me, it's all about this. And maybe, yeah, I feel this privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chrysoula? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really don't know how to answer this. I don't know what's changed. I mean, our characters had a breakthrough. I'm not sure if we had the same, but the process, because it became very physical, because the drawings, it was drawing after drawing after drawing. So it was quite interesting that we kind of became them somehow. It was like very repetitive, and we became very fast charcoal drawers. So I don't know. I guess that is something that,
this is a very nice actually message to end the conversation, that sometimes what we are doing in films is, for sure in animation is more obvious, but still makes changes to ourselves, and a lot. We can, in a way, combine our lives with the lives that we give in the film. Very interesting, very interesting. Thank you so much. And thank you again for having you not only here, but also your amazing film in the festival. And yeah, now we are just waiting the results of voting for the audience award and also the jury award. So we will have some days of waiting, and then we will come back with feedback also on the way that the films were received in the territories. Yes, also with this. I think it's important to have a view. Thank you again.
Thanks.
And good luck with the next project.
Thank you.
Thank
thank
you.
you for having us.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.